Hey y'all, welcome to Girl Meets Screen. My name's Norma, your host of whatever, and today we're talking Love is Blind UK Season 2, episodes 1 through 4. I'm a little late to the game, but it's okay. We had some back-end technology issues, but we move. Okay. Episodes 1 through 4, honestly, 1 through like halfway through 3, very boring. I feel like the pod episodes seem to get more and more boring. I think we're just used to the structure, and so now it's just like, but obviously there are always interesting conversations. I think UK always feels a little bit more boring in the beginning just because it's more real, which I like, honestly. I'm glad that this season still feels a little bit more authentic. Like, people truly are trying to like talk to each other, get to know each other, to marry, to date, or whatever. There is a little bit of questionability here, but still mostly authentic feeling. Episode 1, as I mentioned, kicks off with pod dates and everyone talking, and our first people to connect that we see are Billy and Ashley. They're both like army cadet people, and he's military, like career. They used to call her Combat Barbie. Now she's a flight attendant, or like a flight attendant manager, cabin crew manager, they call it, or whatever, something like that. And so yeah, they hit it off immediately. You can see it. They're really connecting. They both feel that like the military, the army situation is really important. I forget what the day was, but there's like a day every year that she makes sure she has off because it's so important to her, and it's related to the military or the army cadet thing. I don't know, but he loved that about her, and you could see that they had a lot in common and a lot to connect with. We meet Sophie, who is in a ends up in a love triangle with Kieran and another girl, Megan. And she's just like really in her shell, really guarded, which is like, if you knew you were like that, I don't know that this was a show to come on, like, because no one's going to pick you like that. We also meet Patrick, who does not end up like in an engaged couple, but does end up in a really strong connection, and he makes all his decisions with his spleen. And lastly, we see a connection forming with Cal and Sirova. Episodes 2 through 3, I would say most important things are the connections between Billy and Ashley, and Cal and Sirova. Ashley and Billy, they're clearly going to be the boring couple of the season, the ones that just make sense, and there's not a lot of like arguing or like drama happening, but they obviously connect, like I mentioned, on the military thing. They're emotionally connected. Billy does show some concern on her being like cabin crew, because he's like, I've dated someone cabin crew before, it didn't work, them traveling all the time, and he's, you know, he wants a family, he wants to settle down. And so that calms down, because Ashley kind of says, like, you know, obviously wanting to start a family, I understand that that won't be conducive to that. And I've already kind of been in it a while. So she's saying how she's able to like move into the more 9-to-5 office job type of setting within, you know, like the airline business. And so we can appreciate that. And they do end up engaged and meeting, and they seem to really like each other when they meet. Like, everything seems to be going really well for them. Then we have Cal and Sirova, and they are really hitting it off. They're really connecting on everything. Like, Cal's only concern is he's Pakistani, she is Indian, and there is some history there. And so he's concerned about her family's acceptance of him and everything like that. He doesn't seem to have concern on his end. So either he's not very close to his family, or there's no concern there. Like, his family would be accepting. He does end up proposing to her. They do meet. They do really seem to like each other, and everything seems cool up until they end up having like a type conversation where she's like, you're just my type. And he's like, you're actually not my type. I usually date like white British women, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And so she's kind of like, that's not me, but that's like 3 other bitches that are here, 2 that will be here, 1 that's not, like, uh-oh. And so I think she starts getting concerned. I had to guess she's probably seen a few US seasons and has seen that like eventually people who didn't pick each other see each other, and you can see that she's starting to get insecure about that comment. Why he would say that out loud, I don't know, but he did. I guess it was honest, but hopefully it doesn't have an effect. I'm hoping that he doesn't end up like acting on that, or being like, oh yeah, these women are my type, these are who I should have spoken to, and sees it for what it is. Because it's like, okay, clearly if you had a type and this is the woman you connected with, you know, you've got to figure out how to like look past that type. Like, and that being said, like, obviously I do take into consideration attraction. You do have to be like really attracted to someone, But I just think you have to have a good balance between the two. Kieran, Megan, and Sophie. We're moving on to episode 3. Sorry. They are in a love triangle. Sophie, as I mentioned, she's very closed off and just not giving a lot. And then we have Megan. She's a dancer. She's a lot of fun. She's very open. And so that's kind of, I think, the deciding factor for Kieran. The kind of like climax conflict, I don't know what to call it, that like kind of blows it all up, is that he gives Megan some sort of little like special trinket or something from his time in Japan. And Megan's like really excited, yelling about it in the house. And while I thought Megan knew he was talking to Sophie, she doesn't, because later on Sophie mentions it to her, and in her confessional she talks like she didn't know that. But yeah, so I will say I could see why Sophie was upset. She did overreact a little bit, because I think with the whole being guarded thing, she probably suspected that he wasn't 100% on her. And so if you remain guarded, like, you kind of played a role in that, because you don't know that you opening up might have been the deciding factor. However, with Kieran, I will say he should have had some sort of conversation with Sophie before giving Megan that gift, knowing that like, oh, that gift would go back into the house and be spoken of, and could hurt Megan's feelings. So I think he definitely should have had a conversation with her of like, hey, just so you know, I am connecting with you and her, but I am connecting with her more. I don't know that he has to say he's planning on giving her something, but just kind of making it clear that him and Megan are a bit stronger. Again, Kieran obviously chooses Megan and proposes to Megan. Editing Norma here. I somehow managed to forget about Jed and Barta, but they're there. Again, another stable, like, normal-ish couple. So yeah, they're engaged, and they're also a couple that's participating in this experiment. Yeah, hopefully I'll have more on them in the next set of episodes. My bad. Now we have Patrick, our splenic listener. And he's talking to Anu. They seem to be connecting because of spirituality. The only thing I would say I would have worried about is that her spirituality was Christian based and his was clearly more like, would you call it worldly? Like, you know, like listening to my spleen, intuition, like very spiritual in that sense. And I think those are two that are very hard to connect, because a lot of the things in the spirituality that he's involved in, Christian spirituality would look at that as of the world, right? Like as something negative. Things get awkward for them. Like they're not quite connecting. And they have this really weird conversation. I believe it was about her, like he asked her, like, what would you do if your mom wasn't accepting of me? And she's like, well, my mom really knows me, knows like what's best for me. And so I would have to listen to her. Like I would have to take what she said into consideration, like truly listen. And he didn't like that. And I want to say that's when the conversation was weird and it ended, was because of that. But I could be remembering wrong. I just know there was an awkwardness and they left on an awkward note. And part of that awkward note also was him asking her to sing a song. And she was like, yeah, maybe I'll sing you a song. Maybe I will. And he felt some type of way that she didn't sing it right then and there. So when they meet up again, she comes back. She's like, hey, I wrote you a song. Like, are you ready to hear it? And he's like, so when I asked you to sing me a song, why didn't you? And she's like, well, I wanted it to feel natural, yada, yada. Which, yeah, like, I don't understand why he was so like, oh, it's over because she didn't sing you a song. Like, you would think, like, fine, you're thinking that. And then you come into another day with her and she's like, I wrote you a song. Like, I have a song I want to sing for you about you, that you would be like, oh, wait, okay. Like, you know, maybe there's something still here. Maybe there's more here. Something happened, obviously, to make him be done. But she's so cute because she's like, do you want me to sing it? And he's just on the other end like, and yeah, he's basically like, no, I think you should like hold on to that for someone more deserving or whatever. And yeah, he breaks it off and she's obviously a little confuzzled. Lastly, I almost forgot to mention, we have Katisha and Javen. They're a couple that ends up engaged. Katisha has a really strong connection with another guy, Damula. And she essentially is like, yeah, you're it. Like, I won't change my mind. Like, this is headed in a good direction. She's also talking to Javen, but he's a little bit more closed off. And so she's kind of, you know, like, yeah, Damula's kind of more expressive. And also, again, Javen, very fuckboy energy. He's like asking about sex and like, well, at least what they show, we should say, of course. But it's clear that Damula is more of like an emotional connection and more of like based in long-term connection. And her and Javen do not seem that way. It seems very superficial. and very just, you know, tropey, picking the bad boy energy. Unfortunately, she does end up like going to Milla and being like, you know, I just feel like that connection's stronger and I just have to go. And he's like, you said you wouldn't like change your mind. Like, what the heck happened between then and now? And it's just sad because when she sits with Javen and he thinks he's leaving, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and drink my drink. She's like, okay, I'll sit and drink mine too. And he's like, oh, let me read you my notes about you. And you're thinking it's gonna be some beautiful shit. Literally, he's like 31, nanny, funny, expressive. And she's like, wow, oh, thank you for that. And you're like, what did he, like, he didn't say anything. It was like basic shit that anyone would know about you, like at a first date eating dinner. Like, girl, please. Oh my gosh. Then like when he proposes, he doesn't even have an actual proposal prepared. He thought he was leaving. He thought she was picking Damula. And he proposes with some, it's like, I would have asked for one more date and planned that better. Like, it was just all bad. But yeah, he gives some lame proposal and she says yes. And they are engaged now. Yeah, they meet. They seem to like each other, I guess. I don't freaking know. Then they all go into the honeymoons. Javen and Katisha end up sleeping together, of course, because they were like talking about that and all of that. And I think they might be the only couple that slept together. There might have been another one, but I don't think that they made it like that big of a focus. I don't know. It just, my goodness. But those are the basics from 1 through 4. I'm very excited to see the next set of episodes because I feel like there's gonna be tea and drama there based on the upcoming that was at the end of episode 4. But like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below your thoughts on the current couples, what we're thinking. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.